Did it on purpose.
I did.
I'm live, sister.
Okay, we are live. We are live. Hopefully everything is even and focused.
I'm waiting for the missus. I'm not just sitting here like a wacko. I'm waiting for her to do
look,
whatever
Hollywood Matrimonies just went live.
Do what?
Hollywood Matrimonies live.
Did it really?
Yeah. I don't know if the picture itself is even, but we're here. Hey. Welcome to this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live. Make sure you check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. Thank you so much for watching us live on Facebook and YouTube. Don't forget, you can find us on the Instagram and the Twitter. At the Twitter.
I'm going to apologize in advance. I am having an insane allergy attack. Allergy attack, so I may have you sniffling. I might have to blow my nose during the show.
It's not the corona.
It is not.
Because Bobby believes actually he had the corona last year before it was announced that it was a thing. So now we know.
Because I was like sick.
Nobody wanted to talk about it because we didn't want to start a panic.
Because I was like sick for like 2 weeks and
like bad.
Yeah,
and it was like the worst.
I wasn't hospital sick, but I was.
It was like the worst.
I was down,
ever.
And then I had a cough after the fact.
Would not go away
for about 4 months.
Yeah. And then I got a little bit sick.
And it was around this time that I started shifting into getting sick. So now I'm getting sick again.
Maybe this is just your annual flu time.
Maybe. Right now I think it's all allergies because my eyes are burning and itchy and I have sneezes. And
it's bad.
I don't feel bad. I just have, ugh.
My eyes have been burning. Allergies have been bad.
Your eyes have been burning because you have to look at me every day.
No, I love you.
And we also want to warn you that there's a new member of our family.
Yes. We would like to present to you Sabine Blakey.
But we're not going to get her to come up to the camera because she's relaxed.
She's lying down and being quiet.
So, if she suddenly jumps in a frame, you will meet her.
Yeah, if you see a little beige and white dog, that's Sabine.
She's brown and white.
It's beige. Yeah, I guess it's brown and white. I put tan and white on her description. Is that okay?
Yeah, and Vader is not happy about this.
Vader's just used to running the house and doing things his own way, which is perfectly fine. And our cat is also older too. So Vader's like 10, our cat is 12, and this dog is like a year old.
Yeah, so people
She's
are not
very
happy.
high energy, and she wants to play.
And what's funny about this whole animal situation is I didn't want a new animal.
I didn't understand that.
It's hard for her to understand when I say I don't want another dog.
That's not specifically what you said. You're like, honey, I don't know.
No,
because it's gonna upset the animal.
That was after I'd already told you I didn't want another
animal. Oh, see, I didn't.
I told her numerous times. I even made the statement that once Vader passes, I didn't want to get another dog again.
Well, you're not going to.
No, because you already got one.
Yeah, I did. For me.
And that's even funnier about the whole thing. Like, I'm not upset about it, so it's not a problem.
We're animal lovers.
I just didn't want to go through all this anymore. I liked the way our life was, but
it's mellow.
What's funny though is she was like, I want a little scruffy dog that I could carry around, and she got a dog that's probably gonna end up being bigger than Vader.
I don't think she will. I think she's about done growing.
I don't think she is.
She's a little thin.
Well, no, I think she's gonna get hefty. I think she's gonna be like 12,000 pounds, like a rhinoceros.
Impossible.
Anyway, all right.
Anyway, so if you see a little dog, that's who it is. So her name is Sabine Wren Blakey.
Sabine Wren Blakey.
Oh, Sabine Wren, the wielder of the lightsaber.
I'm aware. Let's go.
Of House Wren, right?
Let's go.
I'm gonna assume. Hi. Let's talk about some movies. All right. What do you want to talk about first, Betty? Oh, poor baby.
So. We didn't go to the theater again this weekend because there really wasn't anything new. There was one movie called Antebellum that came out.
Yeah.
But we were so busy with dealing with this dog and that we decided not to go anywhere. But there was plenty to watch because we had 2 screenings links or 4. They sent me. There is one of the movies that came out to the theater.
Many movies.
They had sent me an online link. No, it didn't get. I take that back. It was another COVID one that they ended up just doing an online release.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So we got a variety of movies. 2 of them we watched back to back were ironically similar in theme. It wasn't planned. We just did it. And the one's kind of weird, and the other one is kind of topical, surprisingly. So what would you like to discuss first?
Let's go with the 2 movies we watched. So I want to start with the one that we missed because it came out a while ago, I think a few weeks ago.
Yes.
So this is the movie Range Runner.
There's not reviews for these up yet because I haven't had a chance.
So I'm going to just go look it up and tell you who's in it. So this movie came out, I think maybe 2 weeks ago, and we missed it. And it centers around this main character. Her name is Mel. And we find out through the story she was like an Olympic type athlete, a runner, and she's running through the woods. And we see in the previews like these two guys basically like steal her stuff and just leave her there. And that's what's happened.
And there's this whole sub story about her dad training her to be a runner, and so she's trying to prove something. We don't know exactly what it is, other than initially
there's some issues there. I think she's working through her running.
Yeah.
But so when I initially saw the trailer, I told you I was super excited because to me it looked like they left her there, stole her stuff, and she was like beaten up. And then I'm like, oh man, what's gonna happen? And then it looked like she starts following them. So I'm thinking,
I spit on your grave.
Spit on your grave, revenge flick.
Big woman empowerment, fight back. And there is elements to that here.
A little bit.
But that's not the movie we got.
Not at all. I mean, it really is more centered around dealing with the issues of her dad.
It's really her, even though she's dealing with the stuff with her dad, and there is the minor issue of these people, because these guys never really attacked her violently per se. Mm-hmm. There are a couple of moments where I think they smack her and push her around because that's her fighting back. And so they fight back to her. Really, it was kind of like they were going to tie her up and leave her and just take her stuff.
Yeah.
And then, but it really becomes more about her surviving the elements.
Mm-hmm. But it takes it back to the lessons her dad taught her. Like, in those training scenes, do you think, like, man, this guy's kind of crazy? Like, because they did that whole, like, sweatsuit thing. Like, you're going to sweat. And she's like, what if I pass out? And he's like, well, then you'll know your limit. I'm like, who trains this way? But that's you. That's why.
That kind of came from the world that I came from. That's not how classes are anymore most of the time.
That's abuse now.
But the martial arts classes I came up with were that. Mm-hmm. Like, we put on trash bags to go running. And
can you imagine us doing that to children these days? That we would not be able to.
Oh, I'm aware. Like,
and how old were you? You were
I started when I was 9, and so by the time I was 12, I'd already been knocked out 3 or 4 times, had a concussion, had some broken bones. That was just you're in Taekwondo. That's just what happens. Mm-hmm. Nobody argued about it.
Well, and that's kind of the training montage and things we see with her and this guy, and you find out throughout the story it's her dad.
Yeah.
And I mean, he's like, you fell down, she's bleeding and all that. He's like, well, so you can still walk, keep going.
And I still do that to people in class now.
You do.
I'm more sensitive to it than it was back then.
But I get it.
Because I recognize that some of the punishment and the beatings and the things I took training and fighting weren't always necessary to learn and get better. They were necessary to become stronger and have more heart and all that kind of stuff. But there's also different ways of doing it. And even my instructor, as he got older before he passed away, he had kind of mellowed out on it too. And he'd ask me sometimes, he goes, why are you yelling at them so much? I'm like, I'm doing the same thing you did to me. He goes, yeah, you don't need to do that. You know, and so
right.
The kind of, everybody kind of turned the corner in society, and you have to kind of go with the times. But I do find myself in class, whether it's the other black belts or the students, they start whining about something. I'm like, what's your problem? What do you just get over it and walk up, go over and finish doing what you're doing.
Yeah.
My 3 main rules for class is you can cry if you need to, throw up if you need to, sit down if you need to, but get your butt back up and get to work. Mm-hmm. And we have many people that flip to the side, they throw up and they go back to work.
That's me. I've done that before. But yeah, you just keep going. And I think, though, that's like you were saying, that was back then. I think that's one of the things we're missing in our society, unfortunately. And I think you only see it in this type of athlete, like your Olympic athletes that really push themselves to the limits and then try to go more.
It seems to be more acceptable when there's a bigger thing for it. Like in martial arts, it's acceptable for the core group that are training, but people outside look at it. Like you either have people that are really into martial arts and understand what's happening, or they understand the discipline and what's good for you and how it builds you as a person.
Yeah.
Forgetting the martial arts class that are just like daycares and all that kind of stuff. But then you also have the people that look at martial arts as just barbaric. They just like, I've had classes that I was going to start up and they didn't want to call it that. They wanted me to call it like a cardio kickboxing thing, because the mentality was instantly, if they read this, they're going to think it's about fighting. And I'm like, well, it is, but
it kind of is.
That's not always what it is.
You know,
that was my struggle of getting into teaching senior Taekwondo classes, because they didn't think anybody would take it, because no senior's going to want to fight. And all these people want to get in there and do stuff. you know.
Some of our seniors are very dangerous.
They are.
Because they don't realize how strong they still are, and they're just like,
right.
And they don't care anymore. They're like, whatever.
Yeah, it seems to be more acceptable. But it's funny if you like. I think I mentioned to you during this movie is when you
don't rub your eyes.
When you don't you rub your eye. When you ever hear a story about like this professional athlete that wins a Super Bowl or wins an Olympic medal, and they go back and hear their backstory, there's always like this abusive trainer, a parent, or somebody that maybe not abusive in a mean way, but like just tortured them. What a normal
person would consider way beyond normal training.
Yeah.
But I think that's what you have to do to get to that level.
And sometimes, like very much like she does in the movie on some level, I hated my Taekwondo instructor for years. And it took me growing up, being mature, figuring out myself to realize what he did for me.
Mm-hmm.
And now I totally respect it. And now I'm making people hate me with the ulterior motive in the back of my mind of saying they don't all just hate me, but I'm thinking
they love me.
I don't mind you not liking me today. And I've told some of my students this.
Like
I'm fine with you not liking me today.
Okay.
As long as it makes you a better person tomorrow.
Yeah.
Then I will be the bad guy.
Yeah. And the great thing though is that she starts building the parallels of her surviving in this forest with these two guys that left her, without anything. So like the scene where it starts raining and she's out there freezing, and then you go back to when she was a child and her dad made her run out in the rain when it was freezing. So I mean the parallels and how she could survive, and she's a very good survivalist working through her stuff. And then the other thing that's really interesting about this movie is like there's 6 people in the entire movie.
Yeah, and I also thought
it's her.
Going back to the first before spinning on to the characters, I thought it was interesting. All the stuff in this movie felt like too convenient until you get to the end of the movie and you realize the entire purpose of the movie. Then it says that's why all this was constantly on her mind, and that's why this, and that's why this happens this way.
Yes.
But yeah, the fact that there's just very few characters in the movie,
I liked it,
and I love that they were not all stereotypical killers. They just weren't rapists and killers.
No.
These guys wanted the stuff. They wanted to move on. Had she not gone back to after them, this other stuff would have never happened.
That's the thing, is she sees this guy on the side of the road and his feet are all busted up, and she runs past him and she's like, okay, my sister says I need to be nice, I need to talk to people. So she goes back and like bandages his feet, and that's when all things go wrong.
But
so this proves my point. Don't talk to no one. Don't make eye contact. Keep going.
It's funny because they're after her because she has a pack of something that was theirs. Or hide something, or they're trying to figure it out.
Oh, later on.
Yeah. And she's just as obsessed by getting her pack because she has something that she wants.
Yeah.
So it's 2 groups of people doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Like, so she can't just leave well enough alone because she needs something. They can't leave well enough alone because they need something. Neither one of them knows that the other one has something that's valuable.
Mm-hmm.
Until later in the film, obviously. And they still don't know at the end of the movie that anything that's going on with her side.
Not at all. So, I mean, it was really interesting. I liked the whole thing. I just wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I was a little disappointed on that standpoint because I really thought it was, not that I want to see a woman get beat up and abused, but I guess.
But I wanted to see the woman empowerment, like, let's go kill some people.
Yeah, I really was expecting her to be gutting some people and fighting back.
I know that sounds gross.
There's a really bloody scene at the end of the movie.
I know that sounds gross. I don't want
But I was fired up.
I
was fired up for her to, like,
I really was expecting it was going to be like a different twist on I Spit on Your Grave, and finally we have a protagonist that's a female of color, fighting back against the white man. So I was thinking it was going to be layered, like. And it was interesting.
There was never any race brought into it.
No, not at all. Which was good. It was refreshing. I like that fact. But I was expecting the other thing. Yeah, but I did like that.
These kind of characters, or the bad guys, if you will, they weren't the typical bad guys you get. They were immediately rapey and racist and
not at all.
Want to kill everybody.
They had their own thing on their mind. It's like, we just need this.
The creepiest thing about them to me was I love their dialogue because it was very just weird Southern hospitality. Well, hello, little lady. But they weren't. But
that to me,
it made it creepier. But what made it even more creepy is I'm a huge fan art-wise of this guy Ethan Van Sciver, this artist. But he's head of Comicsgate. He's got a lot of people pissed off from him over the years. But the Cyber Frog guy.
Yes.
That main guy looks exactly like him. So it's creepy knowing some of the stuff he said or has done, and then seeing that guy in the movie this whole time, thinking like,
weird. A little weird. And then I really liked the main girl. I don't know that I've ever seen her in anything else, but she was really good because she has to carry this movie. And a lot of times there's not dialogue. It's just memory and thoughts
emotion.
and then emotion. And then you see her doing these things that kind of bring you into the story. That was the other thing that I thought was interesting. Limited people, limited dialogue. But you get a full story. Oh, baby. You get a full big story.
I promise I'm not bored with you.
I know. So it looks like she's done a lot of theater. She's been on a couple of shows. Anyways, it's really good. I liked it. I enjoyed it. It wasn't what I thought, but it
wasn't as strong as I thought it was gonna be, but it was a good movie.
The ending's worth it, though.
Yeah. It's available on, I believe, digital and on demand and stuff now. And I'll put up when I post a review later on tonight or tomorrow. I've been too busy to be able to do that right now, but I'll post up where you can find it.
Yeah, so it was good. So check out Range Runners.
So since we're on that same topic, there's another movie that came out that we didn't really know anything about because I purposely didn't look anything up with it. They sent me the link. I said, yes, watch it. And mainly because you mentioned it last week, and I remember having the email, so I immediately said, yeah, send it to me. We'll go watch it because we talked about it. It's a movie called Alone, which that already kind of tells you that you're either going to get some kind of an emotional thing of somebody going crazy because they're by themselves, they're distraught because they lost someone they love and they're all dealing with an emotional thing, or you're going to get some kind of murdery, rapey situation.
Mm-hmm. So the only thing the preview tells us is a woman's recently widowed and kidnapped. Okay. So I'm like, I'm in. Love it.
So this lady is left. You don't really know what's happened with her at first.
Her name is Jess.
She's got a little U-Haul attached to her car. She's driving. It looks like cross country somewhere. Conveniently, she's always in the woods or somewhere.
Driving through some forest.
Desolate.
I'm thinking, like, is she driving through, like, Washington State or something?
It's somewhere remote. And then she has a little encounter, a road rage-ish, if you will.
Following that movie.
Unhinged?
Yes, Unhinged with, what's his name?
Russell Crowe.
I'm like, just, you know
like
what?
The other day,
don't honk.
She was somewhere, she barely honked.
Like,
and I'm like, what was that honk? She goes, I ain't going to get no unhinged stuff.
Yes, I saw Unhinged. That man was unhinged. Well, now I'm, like, really scared about this whole road rage thing. But anyway, so she's on the highway. And this guy is like going super slow, and she tries to look to go around, and he slows down.
She was at fault in this moment because she just didn't like that he was driving slow.
Mm.
Like he wasn't driving like creeping along slow. He just was probably going the speed limit.
No,
but it was a winding road,
slow.
And she was just irritated and wanted to go around.
I mean, you shouldn't be going too fast with the U-Haul anyway.
Yeah, and so this whole movie would have probably, maybe not, but this whole movie probably would have not happened.
If she had
just like Unhinged, had that woman apologized.
Not have honked and passed. Like,
and had she just not, and there's a moment where she had gone to pass, and I was irritated by this. I thought I was going to be irritated by the whole movie because she goes to speed up past him, and then he sped up a little bit, like all of us do when we start getting irritated when somebody tries to pass you. And a truck's coming. So instead of her slowing down
and
going back, she tries to speed up and weave over and causes danger to everyone.
Yeah.
So I would have been pissed off too.
So that's the first thing. And then later, that same car shows up.
Yeah, then he just starts showing up everywhere.
He
then
starts following
creepy.
her
and
creeping on her and being like, hey there, do you want to get a cup of coffee?
And he's
like,
another,
no.
He's another one.
No.
Like he's another one, just like those other people that was very soft spoken.
Mm-mm.
He was never like super violent until.
That's the creepier. That's when you know they're creepy.
And he had the serial killer glasses.
Yes, he had old school 80s glasses like your dad.
Like my dad.
Your dad's glasses have slowly gotten smaller. I'm proud of him.
Yeah, I have to tell my dad, I was like, Dad, you got serial killer glasses?
No, but then, suddenly you wake up suddenly. Sorry. Suddenly something goes wrong with her trailer.
Which we all know where that went.
And so she ends up on the side of the road trying to call for help. And of course, there's no signal.
Of course.
Why do you always go somewhere where there's no signal? You need to have a CB radio and be like, Roger, Roger. Anyways. And guess who shows up? Creeper dude. And
so it's not a big surprise. You can tell from the moment they first encounter that he's going to attack her at some point. You're waiting for it. So it's not like a big plot twist that's given away. I mean, even in the trailers, it shows.
It's going to be him. Well, and I think the thing was when he showed up and he kind of basically smacks her and drugs her. I'm like, okay. Serial killer.
So then the rest of the movie really becomes it's similar to the other movie is when she tries to make her move to get away, it becomes her versus the elements.
Yes. True, she's in the woods.
She's
oh
in the
my
woods.
gosh, yes.
She's in the elements as well.
We watched these.
She doesn't have her dad
trained.
She doesn't have her dad trained memories. So
no, and this one she has the memory of being widowed, so she's lost her husband, so she's dealing with that.
What's funny is I told her when this movie started, when we started watching Rage Runners after this one, I was like, this could have been the sequel to the other one because she could have just been another one that escaped from the same guy.
Yes, that would have been cool. Anyway, so this one I liked this movie. It was good.
I thought it was a stronger movie.
Yeah, it was, and she did some dumb things. Like, why do people do dumb things?
That's my issue with every horror film or everything else.
I understand you're panicking. Maybe I would do the same thing.
Yeah, and you have to kind of step back sometimes.
Maybe
and say,
you need to kidnap me and see what I do.
I don't want you.
That is horrible! You jerk!
I'd return you.
I'm sorry, I scared the dogs.
I have no doubt anybody that kidnapped you bring your ass back.
They're like, here, we took the wrong
They're like,
one.
how do you live with this woman? I'm
so
like,
sorry.
I was just happy you kidnapped her.
Anyways.
The problem with these videos is I could never actually hire someone to kidnap you now because it's all in video that I would have done it.
I know. And I asked you to, so they'd be like,
oh, no, that's my escape because she told me to.
Anyway, but like you said, why didn't she hide behind the door and smash the door?
Well, again,
and then I was like, have your sweater ready and like.
But we're also sitting in a very calm living room while watching television and thinking of other people's lives. It's just like like anything, whether it's a sport. You know, while you're watching a football game, why didn't they do this? Why didn't they do that? When you're on the field, when you're in the situation, everything changes. Your emotions, your fears.
I know. Okay, but if someone's kidnapped, you stand behind the door. So when they come in to check on you, smash the door on their face.
The problem with hitting the door does have twofold. Is once you hit it,
you gotta go.
You're not likely unless you can catch them just right when they come through and you pin them. You got to get past them, and that's probably not going to knock them out or hurt them much. And the other option is you could just knock them out of the room and they pull the door shut. Then you're still locked in there.
Well, that's why I was thinking, what if you go around and try to choke them?
Well, I agree.
You got to get your knee in it.
Here's where most of the problems happen. Like my first thought was...
Let's practice me choking you.
Okay. My first thought was kicking that door when he came in because he opened it nice and slow, was relaxed. But then you also say, if this doesn't work... You already know they're going to be 5 times more aggressive the second time they come in. True. So it's trying to make that decision of when do you make the right move because you want to make a successful move. So maybe you don't do it
the first time. Maybe you do. So I think the initial move of her cowering in the corner was probably the first time to figure out what's happening.
Yeah, he comes in there with a flashlight and she's like squatting down. I would have stood up, faced the wall like Blair Witch and just stood there.
I would have been
made him be like, oh no, what is wrong? I kidnapped the wrong lady.
I don't know. Well, and then there's dumb things, and I'm like, well, why don't you use you have a sweater, use your jeans. I'm just thinking of all these things because
But you have the time to sit around and think about it. She was being taken and punched and
she was locked up for a day.
I'm aware, but there's only so much you can
do. The other thing I don't understand is how come if you're locked in a room, you're like, help, that just lets them know you're awake.
I know. Dumb. Well, but that's instinct. It's looking for help. It's that need to be safe. Quiet. Because if you really think about it, if you sit there silent, nobody's going to help you.
Well, they're not going to help you.
I know, but you don't know if the other person out there, if they've locked you up somewhere in a public place. You know,
maybe. Well, that's why you got to look around.
Like you talk about, it's like these people that have been found in some of these places where like the women were kidnapped and being held in these houses for years. Yeah. And that's why he's like, I heard somebody screaming one day, and I went over there, and because they were in the house, but they probably had padded walls, they had whatever set up.
I don't know. I just think you gotta start planning it. We need to.
It's like anything else. That's one of the things with self-defense and
that should be an escape room, kidnap room.
Let's start that business. You can train all you want, but you don't know what happens until you're in that mentality.
I know.
And are you injured? Are you scared? Or do you know where you're at? You're disoriented. She had been drugged too, so she's kind of all over the place. And he punched her in the face too, so her face probably hurt.
She was all messed up.
So, and he hit her hard.
Yeah, he did. But
this one does have some satisfying twists and turns.
Yes, there's some good stuff. It's good, and I loved how they ended because that's what I was thinking initially. What she should have done in the house, but I know why she didn't. But it happened at the end. It all was very satisfying to me.
Yeah. I like that guy.
People don't just walk away unscathed. I mean, there's injuries.
But I liked him. He was good. He was creepy, but he was mellow, and he was way more scary than those other people. He was very Ted Bundy-like.
I thought because he was more rapey.
Yeah, because you could easily see him not being a bad guy too. You know what I mean? He could have literally just wanted to have a cup of coffee, but he's got that vibe about him that you don't know. He could go either way.
Creeper.
It would have been even a better, cooler twist if that guy had showed up and you would have got creepy, but he wasn't the guy that was in the car or somebody else.
What?
That would have been a cooler. That didn't happen. I'm not spoiling the movie, but
like the whole thing.
yeah, like you
anyway,
like, oh, look at this creepy guy.
Y'all need to watch the movie Alone. It is good. Don't watch it alone. How do we watch Alone, babe?
I believe it's on demand and digital and Mummy and some theaters as well.
Okay, you need to check it out. It's really good. If you have to pick between the two, pick Alone.
Yeah. All right,
and then watch Ranger.
So I want to dive in here on this one real fast.
Okay.
Because I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this but they're putting out, or they just put out, this all new, it's from the written works of Stephen King 5-movie collection that includes Silver Bullet, one of my all-time favorites of Stephen King werewolf stuff. It's got Dead Zone with Christopher Walken.
I don't think I've ever seen that one.
And then it's got, for some weird reason, they put both Pet Cemeteries, the new and the old one.
Sometimes Dead is bad.
And the Stand miniseries, like the full 5-6 hour miniseries.
I've never seen that either. Where have I been?
I don't know, but the Stand miniseries, there's a new one coming to Amazon or Hulu.
Oh, okay.
So we'll have to watch
we'll
it.
Get caught up.
But I didn't realize that I had never sat through the entire Stand miniseries or Dead Zone, so it was nice to jump into them and revisit them. The Dead Zone holds up really well. It's dated. It's Christopher Walken. It's about this guy who is in a car accident. He wakes up from a coma 5 years later, and now he has this thing where, like, when he touches somebody, he can see their death.
Ooh.
And so he's running around kind of as this psychic trying to stop people. But then he comes across somebody that's clearly going to start war, who becomes president, is going to start war. So he feels like he's got to stop him. And there's that. We all know Pet Cemetery, the new one that came out last year. And then there's the original one. Silver Bullet is.
Did I decide I liked the new one or the original?
I think you said you liked them both.
I liked them. I like the new one.
But did you ever watch Silver Bullet finally? You didn't.
I haven't.
You haven't? With the werewolf?
No, I like werewolves.
With Corey Haim, excuse me.
One of the Corey.
Gary Busey. It's got a bunch of that one's got
Gary Busey went crazy.
Well, he was always crazy, but yeah, I think his motorcycle ride, his head trauma made him crazier. Yeah, but that movie's got me and my buddy Danny growing up watched Silver Bullet a lot, and we had a lot of quotable lines for that movie. And then the Stand miniseries actually has like a star-studded cast. It's Molly Ringwald, Gary Sinise, Rob Lowe, the guy from Coach. Oh man, I always forget his name. Coach. It was the assistant. No, not Coach. The assistant coach is the voice of Patrick Star.
Oh,
the big, tall, blonde guy. That guy.
Yeah, he's funny.
It's got Ruby Dee. It's got Ossie Davis, who I forgot that those two were married. It's got a ton of people in it.
What is it about?
It's about, okay, so here's what's creepy, is the movie starts, this virus is let loose, it spreads.
Oh, this is the one you're telling me.
And as I'm watching, this miniseries came out in like the 90s,
94.
Right? And so it starts out, and this virus is spreading, and the military, like, it's just the flu, it's nothing worse than the flu. And then it's spreading around, they don't know how it's spreading, people are walking around wearing masks. It's creepy as hell because it's exactly what's going on right now. But once you get past it, from my understanding, because I've never read any of the books, it's only a small section of the book, because once you get past it and the world is kind of what it is now, a lot of the world has been wiped out. So it's not quite post-apocalyptic, but it is. It's the rest of it's very Walking Dead, not zombies, but very Walking Dead-like, where it's groups of survivors that are just trying to do something. They're all trying to get to the same place, and there's this whole heaven and hell aspect later into the show. That's a bigger picture.
Okay.
There's demons.
I'll have to watch it.
There's this one oracle type lady that they all keep having dreams about, so they're all trying to go where she says. And Vegas has been turned into this despot thing of the evil, and so they're facing off against demons and stuff. So it's actually really good. I enjoyed it. Rob Lowe plays a deaf mute, so he has no dialogue in the entire movie. And then the main cast is Molly Ringwald and Gary Sinise, and Corin Nimmick, who from Parker Lewis Can't Lose and Stargate, I believe he was in. Yeah, he's in it as well, and there's a whole love triangle situation. So, but I was going to tell you, you need to watch it before we watch the new one anyway, so we can discuss it. Yeah, anyway, this new set's really cool, though. It has all of them in here, and like the The Stand miniseries, it's one disc, so it's just 6 hours. You just watch all they're like hour episodes.
Perfect.
It was a TV miniseries kind of thing.
Perfect.
So it's a cool little setup.
I miss the times of miniseries.
I was hoping to be able to give one away, but they ended up putting the kibosh on it at the last minute. They decided to hold off on this one. So anyway, the new version of The Stand is coming soon. I don't remember if it's Hulu or Amazon. I think it's Amazon. So you'll want to get it if you haven't seen it. Shout Factory put out a cool collector's edition of Silver Bullet not long ago. And then, of course, you have all these other ones. But if you want to get all of them at one time, it's a nice little set that has 5 of them right there.
There you go.
I'm hoping this might be the one of many, because there's a few other Stephen King movies that were made that it would be cool to keep getting sets like this. So anyway, it's available now. Cool. All right. So next we can jump into The Wall, or are we talking into the other
Let's talk about The Wall. It's very interesting. So
this next one is a movie called The Wall of Mexico. It stars, I don't remember the girls' names, but it's got Isa Morales in it. Margot Hemingway shows up. And
Jackson Rathbone.
That's
a lot of y'all will remember from Twilight. And the girls
in Avatar
are Marisol Sacramento and Carmela Zimbardo.
Yes, and I knew nothing about this movie other than they had asked me.
They've
been sending me tons of stuff about it. And then when you mentioned it on the show last week, I said, okay, let's go ahead and watch it.
Yeah.
Because I knew I could get a screener for it. So we sat down to watch it. I thought it was going to be a border wall situation.
Yes.
It is not the movie.
It is not at all that.
The metaphor of that idea is there.
Yes, for sure.
But can you explain what this movie's about?
So The Wall of Mexico centers around this family. They're a pretty wealthy Mexican family in their little hacienda.
And we don't know why they're wealthy.
We don't know.
And you never know.
We know that they sell stuff. They're into trade and commerce.
Yeah. It's not really important why they're wealthy, but it's kind of
I think we find out because of the thing.
It's kind of secret. Their wealth is kept secret by design for the story.
Yes. So they have a well on their property, and all the family drink the water from the well. But only the family is allowed to drink the water from the well. Everyone else has to use the water from the rivers or wherever, the regular water that comes from wherever it comes from.
Which in turn makes everyone think there's something with the well that's spiritual.
Yeah,
and we don't know. We never really
know.
You never, even at the end of the movie, you never really know.
Right.
So the townspeople are fighting against trying to come in there to get to the water.
Yes, because they've heard.
It's like seeing the Jesus on toast and everybody shows up.
Yes, it's like, well, we've heard about this water. Yeah. And your family has traded us for this water for centuries.
And what's really funny is that's about this much of the story. The main story is not even that. The main story is where I think the movie really struggles, is this bizarre love story, drug-infused party world of the two sisters, and this handyman,
which is Jackson Rathbone.
And they're both, the girls are really weird. Everything with them is these drug-fueled parties and hangouts.
And I think here's why. So because of trying to keep the well protected and trying to keep the family secrets and monies and everything protected, the girls actually don't ever leave. I feel like they were educated on property. They never leave.
But they know they did. Remember, because they were going out to the clubs and stuff.
No, that was in that room.
I don't think so. I think there was one where they all went out to that club that one time.
Maybe, but their parents travel here and there, and these girls are like at home. But yeah,
there's no supervision. They do whatever they want.
They do whatever. So yeah, there's drugs. There's lots of cocaine. There's sex. There's parties. There's all sorts of weird stuff, and it's very weird and psychedelic. And you don't really understand what's happening, and they act crazy sometimes, like they're
doing weird art, photography, installation kind of things, and costumes.
And at one point, I was feeling like a Stepford vibe, like you don't really know what the heck's wrong with them and why they act this way.
Yeah.
But then slowly, he gets enthralled by them and kind of gets dragged in through their drunken party thing. And then they're like, whatever, and they stop talking to him. So then that, I think, is what really drives him more crazy. It's like, why aren't y'all talking to me anymore?
And I think that's where the movie lost me a little bit. Because I found the movie intriguing. I found it engaging. But at the same time, I found it frustrating. Because I think it dragged on too long.
Yeah.
Because it was a long movie, it was long. Or at least felt like. I don't know how long it was, but it felt long. Go at the top. She's up at the very top. It's right there under the title.
2 hours and 9 minutes.
And 9?
Oh, no.
What are you doing? Go back up.
Was that right?
Go back up.
I'm trying to.
Easy right there.
That.
No, that's a trailer. Is it not up there?
It's not up. That's what I told you.
You don't know nothing. Anyway.
You don't know.
It was a 2-hour movie. I know that. But it felt like it was taking us on this psychedelic, engaging journey. And then went nowhere. You know what I mean? But there's this really interesting metaphor about status of being rich and being poor, and the border situation of the wall. The wall kind of played a metaphor of blocking out people that you thought were beneath you, or people that you didn't want to have what you have. Mm-hmm. Even though it wasn't the wall for the border of Mexico, it's a wall they start building around their property.
Right, because we find out people are trying to steal their water from the well. And so in the end, the movie does become a metaphor for the immigration thing, the building of the wall, because it does end with an aerial view of the actual wall.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling like all of the drug party things is the idea that people have twofold. Either that I'm going to come from Mexico and get to America and have this awesome party life, or the second thing is that white people are assuming that all that Mexicans do is bring drugs and alcohol.
See, I didn't really get that part of it, and I think it's because I just felt so bogged down and convoluted with them trying to make this creative, artsy, interesting, love, drug-fueled triangle situation that almost becomes supernatural.
Yeah,
even though it's not at all
mystical-ish.
Yeah, it's not anything like weird like that, but. And it felt like, we felt like we're on this guy's journey, and you were like, okay, something's going to happen, something big's going to happen, and nothing really ever happens.
Well, and I don't know if that was the point of that. I feel like it was just trying to expose at least that one thing.
I know, but what I'm saying is to take us on that long of a journey and do that much.
Yeah.
And then give us nothing. Like, you don't get the history of the well, really. You don't get.
We know it's been there for like 100 years.
Yeah, you don't even know if it's really doing what it says it's doing.
Don't know.
Isai Morales is awesome in it, but he's in it about this long.
I wish he was there more.
Margot Hemingway shows up for like a split second.
Yeah.
She's the one, the lady that came with the people that were protesting that wanted it.
Yeah. Barely.
She's the white woman saying you should give people what they want, and
of
so
course.
It's not a horrible movie, but it's one that will not work for everybody.
It's not. And I mean, if you can kind of ignore some of the weird artsy stuff that doesn't make sense, I think you get into the subtext and the metaphor of that one thing about the drugs. The other thing is his story. I'm feeling like it's the person or the people that fluctuate back and forth between there should be no wall or we need to protect the borders. I feel like he's kind of stuck in the middle because he gets to know them, and part of the story he's just like, you know what, they're like everyone else. I work here, they gave me a job, it's awesome. But then on the other side, he understands like
why aren't y'all sharing it?
Why aren't y'all sharing, or why are you just keeping that for yourself?
Because there's a moment where he finally he wants to know what it is and what is everybody talking about.
So at that instance, I'm feeling like he's now representing the Mexicans or whoever, Latinos, whatever you want to call them, trying to get here. Like, why are you not just sharing with us? We're not taking anything from you.
Well, but
then he's the other side
too. It's also an interesting twist on the status quo of people, because here you have the white guy, but in this case, he's the lowly handyman,
right?
And they like him. They think he's, he does stuff for them all the time, and he goes above and beyond just working on the ground sometimes.
So I think that's also metaphoric of how
it's
Hispanic people or Mexicans do the best they can to do the best work. Remember, who was it that told the joke? George Lopez told the joke where the roofer fell off the roof. He's like, I'm so sorry I fell off the roof, and I'm so sorry I'm behind. I'll make it up. And he's like, man, you fell off the roof. Are you okay? That's the mentality of the Mexican worker.
You're going to get in trouble for not doing what you're supposed to do.
And so I feel like his role was to flip back and forth. I feel throughout the whole movie, we flip back and forth and see all sides of the thing.
Yeah, and but I think it shifts the way they treat him too.
It's just too convoluted sometimes of how they tell the story.
Because there's moments, like you mentioned earlier, where they're all into him and he's partying with them, and then they're looking at him like, but you're just a handyman. Ugh.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
It's like you see that in movies or stories where like this maid or this somebody took care of somebody, took them in for the family work for them. They love them so much, whatever. But then as soon as it comes back to they don't need you, then you're just a maid again.
Yes.
You know, and it's that same idea. But it reminds me of a movie I love, and I know it didn't do well.
I thought it was going to remind you of your experience with my family.
Well, I get that a lot, but that's a whole other thing. I also don't care, so it doesn't bother me. But did you ever watch White Man's Burden?
I don't.
With John Travolta and Sidney Poitier? No, we have it, but it's a not a gender twist. It's a race twist. Where in this movie, the white people are the poor people, and the black people are the powerful people, and so John Travolta's character is basically being mistreated, trying to do this, and Sidney Poitier is like this rich guy, and so he's holding him hostage because it's the exact story, but seeing it from a different perspective.
I'm telling you. Well, if you can get through the convoluted storytelling of this movie, it's actually, I mean, I get it. I'm not going to say it's a great movie. It's okay.
It's weird. It's acquired.
I understood. Many people are not going to like it or get it. I think there was something else I was going to tell you in the end of it. I don't know. I mean, you just see it's the wall issue. It's this taking our jobs issue. Society. It's the bringing drugs in. It's the society and class issue. It's the you're taking our resources, give it back issue. I mean, it's all of it on all these different levels.
All put together in a weird art movie.
And it's very artsy-fartsy. So it's not going to be for everyone. And
it's one of those that I would never watch again. It's like...
Yeah, I mean... I get it. I appreciate what they were trying to do, trying to bring the story in a different way to maybe a new audience or a younger audience. I just hope that they're intellectual enough to get it because you have to think about this movie.
I think I've read some reviews that gave it some really good reviews, and then some other stuff they're like, this movie is just
weird.
What?
I know.
Anyway,
it is what it is. It was okay.
Yeah,
it was good.
And it's another one that's in theater, I believe, in limited
and
release.
I hope people see it, and I hope people get it.
So The Wall of Mexico, if you can find it online, digital.
Check it out. Check it out. Support.
So the next one we're going to talk about would have been one of the big releases this weekend. Excuse me. It was another one that was supposed to get a theatrical release, but thanks to the good old coronavirus, the Corona, they made an early decision to just release it on video on demand, digital, that kind of thing. And it's a movie called Antebellum, starring Janelle Monáe. Is that right? Janelle Monáe. Janelle Monáe, Gabourey Sidibe.
Yes, which by the way, she's looking really cute.
She looks like she lost some weight, looking better.
Just like her face isn't so.
Yeah,
squishy.
Yeah, it looks like it's kind of starting.
The rest of her's looking all like.
But I'll give her credit. Like
I love her.
I love her too, and I always give her credit that she wasn't trying. It's like that other lady that I think is on This Is Us. That they're not, and even Melissa McCarthy.
Yeah, they don't care.
They're just being themselves. You know, like I get worried about people like that from a health standpoint, but they're not worried. Okay. They clearly aren't running around trying to be what everybody says they should be.
Yeah,
you know. And in this one, Gabourey Sidibe, even though she doesn't have a huge role, she has a decent sized role. She is probably the feistiest.
Yeah, she's working it. She's all
she goes, I'm beautiful, I'm sexy, and she's hitting on people. I'm like, yeah, that's what I like seeing because
love it. She's cute.
Very empowering of that. But this is a strange story.
It is. And if you remember the trailers, you're like, what is happening? Is she like flashing back to
so one of the biggest
previous life?
One of the biggest trailer twists is you're seeing shots of present day.
Yes.
And you're seeing shots on a slave plantation. But there's a moment in the trailer where there's a slave, and I don't remember if it's her or if it's a different slave on the plantation, whenever looks up and an airplane flies over.
Yes.
So then you're like, what?
I am so confused.
So this movie, first of all, this movie is not the movie again that we thought we were going to get.
Not at all.
But in a really awesome way.
Yeah.
We have to talk about this without giving away because there's big twists in this movie.
There is some big twists. So I feel like we have two stories, maybe. Which is
the basic story is about a writer.
Yes.
Who is stuck between dual realities, fighting for her life.
There you go. So we're left to decide what the heck. I'm thinking, is she living past incarnations? Is this mystical? Is something magical?
Because the trailers make it very much like something like
Mystic,
like Us or Get Out, and it's from those same producers, I believe. And
but then with a layer of an airplane in the sky, I'm like, what the heck?
So the movie starts, confused. And there's dual stories here too.
There are dual stories.
And she has to play two parts.
Yes.
complete opposite parts. One of them is high
Very
fancy,
empowered.
empowered woman who's anti this, and very powerful black woman who's speaking women empowerment and this and that.
Yes,
and then she's got to play a slave who's being abused, attacked, and beaten, and suffering.
And I'm just telling you,
the movie, the first half of the movie, is all the slave stuff.
And that was heavy, by the way.
It was
heavy.
We sat down to have dinner. We're going to watch this horror movie.
And then suddenly there's people being whipped and branded and the whole beaten things and raped and just...
You don't see any kind of a rape situation, so don't...
No, but, you do later.
I mean, I'm talking about, like, not people get thrown down violent rape. It's like, it's people having sex and they're just laying there because they can't do anything about it.
It's the systematic raping of
it's horrific. Don't get me wrong. It's just... It's not somebody getting beaten and taken.
And then, it's the lady... The thing that always... I don't get this as a woman. Even if you're white, green, blue, whatever, but if you see other women being mistreated, why would you not say anything and just be like, okay, girl, come work in the house? Like, how does your mind process that? Because you're a woman too. Even if you were a white woman in charge of the plantation, you could get raped too.
Well, there were women like that. There were numerous stories that I've read, different things where the woman of the house tried to take care of the other ladies. And there were a lot of stories of white families that had slaves that treated the slaves like family. They took care of them. They were still slaves.
I know, but
it doesn't make them any less slaves, but they weren't beaten or abused. But sadly, that wasn't the majority.
So that whole part is just rough.
But
she looks like she's just gone crazy.
It's interesting because the opening sequence of the movie is almost like this one shot, and it's going through this plantation. And you're seeing all the different people working. You're seeing people getting beat up and beaten. And you see her. She's draped over a horse. And she's unconscious. And so when she wakes up that first time, and then it almost immediately leaves her. So you're kind of confused about what's going on. And then the way they transition from the two realities is such a shocking moment because, like, had you never seen the trailer for this movie, you'd be batshit confused. Remember, she goes to sleep. And then she wakes up and she's in the other reality, just out of nowhere. There's no preparation for it. It's like
it's one of these sleeping.
Yeah, it's not even that. She remember it just zoomed in on her face.
I'm now a slave.
And then she opens her eyes and it zooms away from her face, and now she's in
So then that's when I'm like, oh my gosh, is this like her past life? This is horrible.
Yeah, it very much came off like a dream sequence at first.
Because there was there's mention in both realities where she's having these horrible nightmares. So I'm thinking in the past, is she dreaming in the future?
The nightmare has nothing to do with the rest of the movie. It's very interesting.
There's one scene that's very much, here's Johnny. What's that movie?
Shining.
There's one little girl in the elevator, and that freaked me
And this one does what I was mentioning in the other one. There's a lot of moments here
I got so scared.
that are setting you up for something that have nothing to do with what's going on.
Like
and the story is not the story you think it is.
Because the whole thing and kind of the more modern present day thing is interesting information, and her friends and her husband and whatever's happening. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But it kind of matters, but not really, I guess. And some of the stuff over here, like, there's some moments and dialogues in the other time period, I guess, whatever you want to call it, that they kind of make sense, but they don't. And I'm like, and then eventually it all comes together.
Yeah, and I kind of,
and I'm like, what?
I kind of figured it out early on. And
you kind of did.
And I mentioned to her, I was like, I think I know what this is.
See, and that's when I'm thinking she's living like a past life. Oh my god!
And there's a great scene. The big reveal scene, I think, is one of the most clever scenes. The way they did it.
Yes, because it's so random. I'm like,
because it makes no sense to what's going on.
I'm like, what is happening?
Because you know what I'm talking about with the horse.
Yes, and I'm like, wait a minute, what?
I think this movie might be up on one of my favorites this year, just because it was
smart.
It's a smart twist. Like, I can see a lot of people figuring it out.
But still, it's great to watch.
Entertaining.
I would watch this again.
And it also has the exciting get them back moments that you want. Like good ones, like not just shoot them and run away. It's got some good moments to get some revenge. And
I think it's good, and I'm glad that we're still seeing.
And it's insanely topical for right now.
That's what I say. I'm glad we're still seeing stories about this because honestly, if you think about it, slavery was not that long ago.
No, and the way this movie twists and turns it makes it even scarier about what's going on right now.
Yes, it really does, because
if you think, how can slavery be scarier? This, to me, made it scarier.
Yes.
The idea behind slavery,
Yes.
and that it existed, and how this plays out made it even scarier to me for the present day.
Okay, fine. That wasn't that long ago. There's one line in her modern day thing where somebody's like, this isn't the end. We're everywhere. And I'm like, oh my God. Those people are still everywhere. We've seen it most recently with everything that's happening. There are still these hardcore people who would bring slavery back, I think, if they could.
Yeah,
I mean, all
would.
these Confederate
people,
people, all of these, your KKK
what scares
people,
me more than those
it's
people,
so
though,
scary.
Are the people that either don't believe slavery happened.
Yeah.
They're the same people that don't think that the Holocaust happened. Those people worry me more, because they're so blinded. That, and the people that think, you need to stop talking about slavery. It doesn't matter. We're not the ones that did it. And it's like, somebody posted this thing the other day, and I didn't show it to you on purpose, because I was going to save it for the show. But it was interesting that, everybody always says, everybody needs to stop talking about slavery. It's time to move past it. We got to do this. But the post they made, it says everybody wants to talk all these years later about 9/11 and how the heroes and this and how horrible this time was.
Tell us to
Don't forget.
Yes,
don't forget.
Exactly.
But then when it becomes a slavery topic, let's not talk about that.
Yeah.
It's very much the sex and violence discussion. If it's nudity and sex, and violence is fine, but nudity and sex is horrible.
Yeah, that's where and I think, to me, what I feel like is the subversiveness right now of racism and racial issues and issues is what's scary to me.
Yeah.
Because it's there and it's underlying. I've known it all along. My entire life I've known it. My mom's life, my grandmother's life. We've known all along. And
I've known it all the time too, because I come from
it's been below the surface. But now seeing it come out, and seeing the shootings and the killings and these people that are suddenly found, that, oh, it was suicide, but they're hanging from a tree.
Yeah.
That to me is
that
so
stuff's been more worrisome.
scary.
Like, don't get me wrong, the shootings and all that stuff are horrible. And people argument about, well, don't do anything wrong and nobody's gonna get shot, but then they ignore the fact that people are going to people's houses and shooting them.
Yes,
was it Breonna Taylor?
Yeah, the no-knock.
Her and the cop that shot the guy in his own house.
Well, and even
accidents happen, I get, but you can't have those kind of accidents on that kind of job.
But I'm saying, like, the stories for me of people who were legally born in the United States and get deported.
Yeah.
Like,
but
it's scary.
It worries me more about the people that want to argue. Like, the thing with the pandemic and with the racism, it's kind of the same thing, in my opinion, on the way people handle it. It's like, you don't have to believe it.
Yeah.
You don't have to. You don't have to like it. That doesn't necessarily make you racist. That doesn't make you necessarily want to kill other people. But the lack of just flat out respect or decency or thought and concern of other people makes you more of a horrible person. If you don't want to wear a mask just because you think I shouldn't have to, with no thought or regard to, could it just make someone else feel better?
Yeah.
If you can't do something because you don't think racism really happens. I'm not racist. I have black friends, which is the most bullshit argument to ever make against racism.
Great. What do you do for your black friends? Are you an ally? Are you helping? I think that's the scary thing too, or the people who do nothing because it's like, well, it's not me. I don't do it. It doesn't affect me.
Here's my thing: is I'm not necessarily against people that don't do anything per se, but I look at it like this: like I don't always have the time to run around and go to protests and this and that kind of thing. And I also have been trying to avoid posting on social media outside of what we do for our shows and stuff. So I'm not getting involved in that stuff on purpose. What I look as my job is to go outside in the world and be a nice, respectful person to every single person I meet. And do things for other people and not do the extra things because it's a person of color, because that makes me just as bad. Because now I'm doing it. And this is from the white person perspective. Is I sat a long time thinking about, my best friend is Hispanic, my wife's Hispanic.
What?
I know. My whole world was wrapped around Hispanic people since I was little. My taekwondo instructor is Hispanic.
You had to learn Spanish.
Yeah, I had to learn Spanish. So I've been engulfed in the Hispanic culture since I was 9 years old, if not earlier, in a white family. But I have a lot of, I listen to predominantly hip hop music, which is technically black music. My favorite food is Italian food. So it's like I'm multicultural, but no.
You are.
But as a white person, no matter how many friends I have, how many things I'm involved with, I'm still a white person on the outside of that. And so I have to sit and think, what do I need to do? But what do I not need to do? How do I be respectful but be myself, and all those things that go along with it? And I'm not complaining about that. That's something I should be thinking about, to be respectful to other people. But I also think there's a thin line of, you can be so respectful that you're being insulting.
Yeah.
Meaning I'm changing the way I behave to you because you're Hispanic, because I don't want you to feel bad. Mm-hmm. But that's not how I would have treated the next white guy that walks in.
Right. So you need to treat everybody.
I'm purposely going, oh, hi. Oh, I love that. Oh, did you know? Like, I used to feel weird talking to my black friends about rap. Because I'd like I have our friend Sean. I'll send him and say, hey, did you hear this new Eminem song? Right? I know Eminem's not black, but it's the music. And I was like, did you hear this new song? I used to feel weird sending that to him. I'm like, why is I'm sending it to the black guy? I'm not sending it to the black guy. I'm sending it to the guy I know the music, that knows the music like I do.
You do. Yeah.
I have other friends that do too, but they're either not on social media or they don't answer me. So it's like, and it's the same way asking you. It's like, hey, taste this enchilada. Does it taste like it should?
Yeah.
I used to feel weird about saying those kind of things, but you're the one that should know.
I hope so.
And he's the guy that I know that listens to that. Yeah. So
I think you just be you, be nice, and
that's what I try to do.
People when you can. I mean, because there's been.
But I've
helped people that I know, like older people that don't speak English. Like I've stayed with people to help them at a store.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the best way that you can help and be an ally and just do what you can.
I think if people would step back, we can't cure racism, because that's just hatefulness is hatefulness. Anyway. But what you have to do, in my opinion, is you just have to learn to be respectful, nice, and be there for other people. Be willing to defend people too,
That's what I'm saying.
It's not just be nice to people. If you see somebody disrespecting somebody or they need help, freaking help somebody.
Did you see that one lady? She went off. She's like, "Why are you treating her that way?" That's what we need. We need more of those people, because then it'll get people to stop being hateful.
But anywho,
hateful.
Anytime a movie with slavery pops up, comes up, this conversation switches.
So you need to watch Antebellum. You've got to watch this movie.
And Janelle Monáe is so good in it.
You've got to watch.
She's got a lot to do in this movie, and she knocks it out of the park.
She does good, and I'm excited. I'm watching.
Wasn't she a singer first? Okay.
And I'm watching her right now on my other show on the whatever it's called.
Sorry.
Oh my gosh. Poor baby. Anyways, I like her. She's good.
She is really good.
She's really good.
That movie is excellent. I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I would watch it. Please watch it. Thank you.
It is heavy.
It is, but it's good, and it gets you. You're like, what? And then I'm like, oh yeah, go. And I think my favorite person is Gabrielle Sidibe.
Yeah, she's funny in the movie.
Because she's like, hey girls, we're gonna go in our
One of my favorite moments is and this isn't even really part of the bigger picture, but there's this guy that sends her over a drink.
She's like,
and he's flirting with her, right? And he's this handsome hunk guy that you would have thought would have been flirting with Janelle or the other girl that's with him. And he sends her this drink, but he sends like a vodka cranberry. And she's like, if you don't notice us ladies sitting around here, we're champagne ladies, and you send this thing over here, and then they're yelling at her, like, what are you doing? He's like, he needed to know. And she goes, besides, I'm gonna probably make that.
But she's like, here's my number.
A business card, and we'll make this happen anyway, despite you not understanding who we are.
She's so fun in this movie. I love her. I'm just so happy to see her anyway. So, I love her.
Anyway, so
that's that.
We have a few things. We got some contests going on, obviously. We got The Legend of Tamiris, however you say it. We'll be talking about it on the show soon.
I'm excited about
so we got copies of that up here. This is, it says it's part of like the Legends of the Amazon stuff. So where some of those warrior ideas came from. Then we also have one I'm super excited for, Invincible Dragon. It's Max Zhang, Anderson Silva, UFC star. Max Zhang from the Ip Man franchise. We got that one we're giving away. We'll be talking about that as well. We're giving a copy of season 3 of Young Sheldon.
Mighty Little Man.
The spinoff from Big Bang Theory. If you're a fan of that, it's a great show.
It is good.
Such a fun little show. What else is on there besides this last one? Fiction show.
Oh, hold on.
I thought you had it sitting here.
I did.
Oh, Bad Education. That one's fixing to end, which is the Hugh Jackman, Allison Jennings movie about the school, and the girl from Broken Hearts Gallery.
Yeah.
And then our latest one is a 4K copy of Full Metal Jacket. which you have not seen.
I have not.
So we're going to sit down and watch
to.
it so we can talk about it on the show probably next week. So she can talk about her experience. This one was like, what can I get for $10? Anything you like. Anything.
Oh.
It's a Two Live Crew song. It's very famous from that moment. But it's also, it's kind of a dual movie, but we'll discuss that later on.
Okay.
So we're giving away 4K copies of this. And I've got some other giveaways about to pop up. So stay tuned.
Awesome.
So what we got? Oh, am I still on this?
You're still on you.
All right. So on Blu-rays this week, we got a plethora of things happening, but it's mostly older stuff being re-released. What was that? Is he breathing?
Okay, yeah, this one is too.
So we've got The Legends of Tomorrow, the complete 5th season, I believe it is. I believe it's the 5th season. Yeah, the complete 5th season is coming to Blu-ray and DVD this week. The Crow is getting a new Blu-ray treatment. Very excited for Brandon Lee. The Scream trilogy is getting a new Blu-ray treatment. There is already a Blu-ray box set, I believe, or is it a DVD box set?
It's a DVD box set.
And with Scream 5 coming out, I'm sure there's going to be a whole lot of new stuff.
I am so
and on Scream 5, if you don't already know, they've already confirmed Courtney Cox, David Arquette, and Neve Campbell. I know that Matthew Lillard's trying to get his way back in there, so we'll see what happens.
Flashback.
Everybody says he's dead, but he said it was just a
really
TV,
dead.
Right? So I asked Jamie Kennedy when I interviewed him a while back about who he goes, people keep asking me that. He goes, but I'm dead. And I'm like, is anybody ever really dead? And he goes, yeah, I guess you're right. So
exactly.
And then Rick and Morty season 4, which I'm in the middle of, is coming out next week on Blu-ray. Whiplash is getting the 4K treatment, which you still have not seen.
No, I didn't want to see it because he looks so mean in it.
It's such a great movie, though. He is mean. He's horribly mean. It's like the Range Runner discussion, but he's trying to make them better. But when you see the movie, he is horrific.
I'll
but
try.
You as a musician, I'd like more of your opinion from it.
Okay.
The Don't Be a Menace to South Central While You're Drinking Juice in the Hood is getting the Blu-ray treatment. You never seen that one?
No, that's a really long name.
Don't Be a Menace to South Central While Drinking Juice in the Hood. Okay. So it's Juice, Boys in the Hood, Don't Be a Menace to Society, South Central. It's a spoof movie.
Of it?
It's the Wayans Brothers spoof.
Oh, I'm in.
And then Copland is getting a Blu-ray treatment as well, which I actually really dig that movie with Stallone. With Fat Stallone. Have you never seen Copland? He plays a half-deaf, fat deputy.
Oh.
He put on actual weight and got really fat for it. He said it was his favorite movie to film because he got to eat a lot. But it's him. It's Robert De Niro, Ray Liotta, Harvey Keitel, Michael Rappaport. It's like a cop drama.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So those are the big ones coming out this week.
All right. So there are some movies coming out that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, we got a lot of boogers coming out of my nose.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, they're also the Rob Zombie Firefly trilogy is coming out. As a collection of House of a Thousand Corpses, The Devil's Rejects, and 3 from Hell.
All right, coming out Friday, we have Rogue Warfare, Death of a Nation. I don't even know what this is about, but it looks like a group of soldiers on some sort of an undercover mission. This I'm excited about. Ava. It's the one where Jessica Chastain's an assassin of some sort. That's all we know. I'm excited. Something called Cajillionaire with Gina Rodriguez. There's Brad Pitt, Rachel Wood, a bunch of people. I want to see it.
Oh, they sent me a bunch of stuff about that.
Okay, cool. Coming out on video on demand. Why would you skip it? Come on, get it for me. Video on demand and digital Misbehavior, set in 1970 about the Miss World competition. And then limited release Starbright. No idea. That's it.
The other thing I want to touch base real quick before we go. Also, I forgot at the start of the show to apologize.
Why?
About these cables that are dangling around behind us.
Yeah.
And now we look like, I know we always got a bunch of other junk, but we got these cables dangling behind. We just installed our theater, and so I haven't run all the cables properly yet.
We're
so they
trying
were
to get. Well, you can see it on my view. You can see the camera.
Oh, okay. Well,
you can see what's
we haven't run all the cables properly yet, so that's what we have to do next. We got to shut everything off and test it so we can see it in the dark.
We have to watch a movie in the dark.
So anyway. But I do want to touch. I opted. We didn't talk about it last week on purpose, but I opted to not discuss the movie here. But I do want to bring up something. So everybody knows there's a big controversy of this movie, Cuties, on Netflix, and people thinking that it's this sexually abusive child pornography film. First of all, it is not. It's anti for that, but that's fine. I'm not trying to convince people to watch it. Here's my issue. I had posted a review about the movie. I had it up for a while. I had a few discussions. People got a little pissy. Once this government got involved, decided to do an investigation on Netflix, which is going to go nowhere. At worst, they'll pull the movie from the thing. But anyway, I decided to back up, just delete the thing and not be involved with it. But the reason I did my review for that movie that I want to say publicly, and something else that we were discussing earlier today, is because there's a lot of the troll groups that were posting stuff saying that there's penises in the movie and there was sex with 11-year-old girls in the movie. There's nudity and sex. None of this exists in this movie. There is, I believe, one boob shown in the movie. It's on a video of an adult woman stripper. There's a couple of scenes of a little girl in her panties, not in a sexual way. One of them, she's in a fight. And in the fight, they're trying to pull her away. Her pants get pulled down, and then people take pictures of her, and it becomes a humiliating situation that is like a real life situation because her pants got pulled down. And the last one is the story is about this girl who's a Muslim, and she's a very strict Muslim religious family who gets involved in this dancing and the internet. It's really the issues of the internet and making girls believe this is what you have to do to be popular, make people watch you, and the sexualization of stuff. And there's a cleansing moment where they're doing the religious stuff, trying to cleanse her spirit and her soul from her doing bad things or watching bad things. Mm-hmm. And she kind of gyrates. So she's in her, like just a t-shirt, but like her underwear. And then she starts twerking. But it's the whole metaphor of the scene is this evil is too strong for their thing to take over. It's very much like an exorcism. Mm-hmm. But the dance in that is the showcase of evil, to show that the power of the internet and all this stuff is too strong just for their simple prayer. It's got to be more, and there's moments where they're doing these just dirty twerking dances on stage and the audience is gasping and disgusted, same way you should be when you watch the movie. That's the point. Now, I say all this to say this. The outfits they're wearing and the posters that everybody got pissed off about, the dances they're doing in that thing are every dance recital, Dance Moms. We watched them. You were watching the movie earlier.
Watching this movie on Netflix called Feel the Beat, which is kind of built
lighthearted.
as this lighthearted comedy. This girl messes up her Broadway audition, so has to go back home to a small town.
I saw 5 minutes of this movie.
And there's a dance competition, and guess what? There's a troop of little girls who are twerking.
They're twerking, they're doing the splits, and they're in these little skimpy outfits. It's the exact same thing that's in this other movie.
And that's what happens all the time at these dance competitions. That's the real problem that the movie is trying to expose, but people misunderstand.
The Cuties movie, it has a lot of things going against it. It's trying to showcase the exploitation of children in this environment of not just dance competitions, but the age of how the perception of seeing something like we laugh about that Cardi B song WAP, WAP or whatever. Yeah. Obviously, it's a very adult song, but that kind of thing is what they're seeing. And the realities of, God forbid, the kids having access to the stuff on the internet and stuff. And the same thing of perception we've talked about of what people perceive beautiful women should be with all the makeup. Like, I understand theater, I don't like a lot of makeup on women. It always irritates me. You hear me talk about it all the time. I don't mind makeup, but I had to go through my daughter being in dance, and I hated it. I hated watching this.
Makeup now.
Yeah, and I hated all that stupid caked on makeup. I know in theater, I'm like, why are y'all wearing so much? I know it's so you can see from a distance on some element to make your features pop through the lights, all that. I don't care about that. I'm coming to watch my daughter dance. I don't need to see her bright ass lips and her little. Why do they need to be in these little leotard things? Why can't they be in normal clothes to dance? There's a lot of elements that people just got pissed off by this one thing, yet they ignore all the kids that are in the cages and in hotels being raped and molested and everything else because they're not white.
Yeah.
That's the biggest issue. And somebody posted a thing in the movie.
Yep.
So I'm
going to post a clip from this other movie and be like, this is what y'all need to be upset about.
Yeah. So I just wanted to put it out there because it's been on my brain.
Been on your mind.
That I needed to get it out publicly. I don't necessarily support the movie from a standpoint. It's a good movie. It's a hard movie to watch. It's not a movie that I think should have to exist. It's a movie I probably don't think should exist. It's not an entertaining movie from that standpoint, but it's sadly a truthful movie. And we need those movies to bring light to it, but sadly this movie brought the light in the wrong way.
Yeah, it just got You got on somebody's bad
And
list.
all the people arguing and fighting about it have not
never
seen
seen
the movie.
it. Yeah, like watch the movie.
I've read so many reviews of people that talk about this movie that completely twist and say the exact similar things that I said about how this movie's against this and this and this and this and this and this. Every person I've seen post against it has never seen the movie.
Mm-hmm.
They've read about what they've heard is in the movie. They know the poster. They have made their decision, and you're not going. And that's one of the reasons I backed away from it, because I'm not going to change their mind.
Mm-hmm.
I had one civilized conversation with a lady who, from looking at her page, I don't know her name. I don't know her. I had just went off looking at her Facebook page after she responded to me, who looked like that. Her whole world is about saving the children.
Well, that's
More
nice.
power
Thank
to her.
you.
That's awesome.
Go save the children in cages.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Oh, sorry. Now in hotel rooms, so
I know,
they can be
and that's
sexually
awesome. I'm
exploited.
not saying that like I'm not meaning it like she's a crazy
No,
woman.
not at all.
I'm all for that. So I knew I was when I saw that somebody shared it to her that I wanted to see the response I was going to get, and I got the response I expected. But we had a civilized discussion, which was nice. But it was clear that she was not going to shift and take the time to see it.
And that's happened so much now. I think social media is a problem. You'll need to go back and watch The Social Dilemma that we talked about last week, because that ties into this movie.
Exactly.
Because the amount of depression, anxiety, the suicide rate among younger tween girls has skyrocketed, because there is that idea that that's what I have to be popular for people like me.
And the one of the things I found interesting that the lady had said in comment, because I wrote in my review about, and sadly I deleted the review itself because I decided I didn't want to be attached in it. But I wrote in the review about it's a sad fact that this is how things are, and this is a real worry. And she said something in fact that was like, because she didn't know it was me at the time. She thought it was just a friend sharing her review. She's going, this reviewer's using it as an excuse that this is how the world is and we're supposed to be okay with that. I'm like, so you totally missed the point of what I just said. It's horrible that this is the truth, but it is.
It is.
And for anybody to think there's 11-year-old kids not seeing this stuff because you think you're a super parent, you're delusional.
They've already seen
because they're seeing it. Like I remember the first time, my son, we found out that he saw a porn movie. It broke your heart.
It did.
And it made me upset. He saw it at a friend's house, and he didn't come tell us. I'm like, oh, guess what I saw? I know everybody wants to believe that their children are never doing anything bad.
Your kids already know.
Everybody's,
I'm just going to tell you, your kids already know. The internet's out there. YouTube is out there.
And it's not okay.
Ooh,
but it's what it is. It's not okay, but it's what it is. And so we as adults have to fix that.
Because you said Twitter doesn't filter, right?
No, you can see anything.
Like
on
there's
Twitter.
sex on Twitter, right?
Yes, like there's
YouTube, obviously.
Twitter, you can watch full-on porn clips.
I'm just telling you, if you're not watching your kids.
And like I've seen a lot of like celebrity kid actors that they have their Twitter page, but on that it says this page is run by my parents, so and so. So they're the ones keeping track and probably writing their comments for them. I'm sure they're telling them, hey, I want to say this, and so they write it, but they keep track so there's not trolls attacking them and sending them weird shit. Because I could easily blast an email to anybody I want. I can post something on Twitter. There's no filter. Facebook, there's filters. Instagram, there's filters. But guess what? I've seen some weird shit on Facebook before it gets pulled down. There's been news stories of people committing murder on Facebook Live, and it'd be seen by millions of people before it finally got pulled. Because if somebody doesn't report it, it may stay up for a while.
It's like the picture that went out from Captain America.
Yeah, that was on Instagram because that was a video.
Even though it went away.
And
screenshots everywhere.
And released to that, everybody came to his defense.
Right. Why won't y'all do that for a woman?
But if it was a woman, everybody would be like, oh my God, did you see so-and-so's boobs? Oh, but everybody's like, don't look at him. It was an accident.
Yeah, right.
That double standard is ridiculous.
Because he's a white male.
I mean, he is
Captain America.
He is Captain America.
I know, but still, we just need
to have that
America's
respect. Ass.
We need to have respect for, now it's
I agree.
And now it's America's everything.
Yeah, I agree.
But we need to have the same respect for everyone.
The only weird response came from Jamie Lee Curtis. And she said something about, because she played his mom in Knives Out. And so she played something like, oh my boy, you definitely got mom's attention. And so everybody's like, that was a creepy response from your brother. But I'm like, that is not his mother.
I know.
Anyway. Sorry, I went off on a long tangent.
That's okay. You can tangent. This is our opportunity to tangent because you know what? Everyone else on the internet does too.
That's right.
And you don't have to watch us.
That's right. And most of you don't. So it's
and that's okay too.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live, complete with tangents.
That's right.
Check out our website, hollywoodmatrimony.com. Thank you for watching us on Facebook and YouTube. You can also find us on Twitter and Instagram. And Instagram is Hollywood Matter, MATR.
And I'm just not going to lie right out of the gate. I have a lot of deadlines. I doubt there's going to be any other shows this week until Sunday. But if I get the time, I will do a martial art movie Monday. I doubt we'll do TV Tuesday because
I'm trying to train a new dog.
We're doing training dogs. There's stuff going on in life. We promise we'll be bringing those shows back. I just don't know exactly when. Actually, after this week, I should be back on course because my art deadlines will be done. So, but if I can, I will do a show tomorrow. But if not, we'll definitely be back Sunday for an all-new episode of Hollywood Matrimony Live, where we're going to discuss some stuff because I have no idea what's coming out. Other than what she just mentioned.
There you go.
All right. Peace and love, children. Be nice.
Bye.
Be respectful.
Have a good one.
Change the world. Boom.